Detroit Den 313, welcome back to another Detroit Lions episode. Today we are talking about that defense. We have been talking defense since, unfortunately, that NFC Championship game, how to get better, how to compete, how to get back to where we are and take the next step and get into that Super Bowl. I got a good question for you guys at the end of this episode. Stick around, check it out, enjoy your Friday. Hopefully you guys are kicking off the weekend right, drink in your hand, watch a little Detroit Den 313. Let's get this weekend started. This defense last year, we all know. I'm not breaking any news. I'm not saying anything you guys haven't heard. It wasn't great. It wasn't phenomenal. It was good enough to get us to the NFC Championship game. To win championships, you have to be better on defense. I don't know if the old saying of defense wins championships is still true, because the NFL today is an offensive-driven league. They want these quarterbacks with flashy numbers, and they don't want you touching wide receivers, and you can't tackle anyone anymore. There's too many injuries. I don't know. It's not really even football anymore. We're borderline playing flag football. So the NFL has shifted its mindset to this to cater to offenses. They want, I don't know what it is. I don't know if gambling's involved. I don't know, but defense to me is still the heart and soul of football teams. And being handcuffed by some of these rules, we're not going to complain about it. We're just going to roll with the punches. We're going to adapt, as the Detroit Lions say. We're going to move on. We're going to get better from this. We are going to win football games regardless of what refs try to do. We know we get screwed by the refs once a year, Dallas Cowboys game. We're going to keep going. We're going to have to fix some defensive stuff. I've done some digging today. I've pulled up a lot of numbers. I've looked at a lot of things that I don't like what I see, but I'm very, very hopeful. Let's start with Aaron Glenn last year, man. Last year, he was at one point, and I'm guilty of this myself, so whatever you guys say, I have to take it with a grain of salt. I wanted Aaron Glenn fired at one point last year, man. I was fed up. I think it was probably when we were during a rough stretch where our defense wasn't looking good. I kind of had to get reeled in a little bit. I saw some changes. I saw the defense playing. We weren't executing very well. I remember going back to the Chicago Bears game on the road, the one in Chicago. We weren't very disciplined. A fourth down, I remember Aiden Hutchinson jumped offside and they got a touchdown for it. And later came out that they said that they were trying to do the hard count. They had a play if someone did jump offside. Burned us for a touchdown. I don't know. Sometimes we just looked like we weren't mentally focused, and that happens. But Aaron Glenn, I think, got a bad deal, from myself included, so I apologize. The defense at times did play good. We were in tough spots last year defensively, guys. Our defensive coordinator did not get much help from us. On top of, some shoddy calls or some bad coverages, anytime you lose starters on your defense like we did last year with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, we were shuffling Jerry Jacobs in there, hoping he could be that cornerback 2 next to Cam Sutton. We had to eventually pick up Kendall Vildor from a practice squad and put him on our roster and say, hey, come in and start. It's a bad situation. It was a recipe for disaster. We're actually very fortunate we made it to the NFC Championship game. Luckily, our offense was dominant. But when you're looking at scenarios like that with 2 injuries to expected starters, trying to shuffle things around and see who can stick at that cornerback too, because I know Cam Sutton got a lot of hate at the end of the year, and I'm not going to stick up for him for his allegations. But just from a football standpoint, we didn't have to talk about Cam Sutton last year until like week 14. So, I mean, we played some damn good football, and Cam Sutton was probably the one guy on that defense we didn't have to talk about. So regardless of what your opinion is, like he played pretty well most of the season, but when it mattered, yeah, he did shit the bed. I can't say that he didn't. NFC Championship game, I know he dropped an interception. He missed some tackles. Not a good game for Cam Sutton, but it wasn't a good game for a lot of guys. So Aaron Glenn kind of had his back up against the wall, and he responded. Like he could have just rolled over and died, but no, man, he was fielding out the defense, the best defense that he could, hoping that it would work. Like I said, guys, we were bringing in practice squatters and putting them in key situations in the NFC Championship game. Like we were banged up. It got addressed. You guys know it got addressed. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm going to go through some stats for you guys real quick on this 2023 defense. Some of it's ugly, man. I hope you guys can bear through this. At one point last year, we were giving up 30 points per game defensively. That is absolutely putrid. It was terrible. Like I said, Aaron Glenn made some adjustments. He made some really, really nice coaching changes, some schematic stuff. Ify Melifonwu coming on, using him, getting some more pressures. It worked. Got that down to 23.2 points per game. Can't tell you exactly when. I just remember Ife Melifonwu being a key piece of that defense late in the season. I don't know if that was the sole cause. I'm just kind of tying it together. 23.2 points per game. That ranked 23rd at the end of the year. 23rd is not good. That's pretty bad. 330 passing yards given up in the final 6 games. That's throughout the playoffs. It's not good. But we were talking about, we were going to get some dog wide receivers, Justin Jefferson twice, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. If we had a better secondary, maybe we don't give up 330 yards, but that got addressed. I'm going to get to it in a minute. Stick around. Defensive line, linebackers, safeties, however you want to say it. Rushing the passer was not our forte last year. 41 sacks. That was tied for 9th worst. And if I remember right, only one other team was the team that we were tied with was the Rams, and we were the only 2 teams in the bottom 10 to make it into the playoffs. That's not good. It's just flat out not good. And I would say Aiden Hutchinson was most of those. Like, we kind of sprinkled it around. It's just, 41 sacks in what, 19 games, something, 18, whatever it is. It's not an ideal number. We need to bump that up to around a realistic number for 2024. I'm throwing out the number from 41. Let's go up to 54. Let's get 13 more as a team. I don't think that's an insurmountable number. Another 2 more stats that we were just absolutely terrible in. We were bottom 5 in the NFL in total yards allowed. We gave up 4,562 passing yards total. That's bad. Our passing defense was poo-poo. Our rushing defense, very solid. We were number 2. I'm not going to go into defensive rushing stats because you know how good we were there. I think we gave up 15 touchdowns. I'd like to see that come down a little bit. I think even that will get better. 15 touchdowns. Let's drop that down to about 12. I think that's a big part of that will be DJ Reader plugging up that middle. Defensive passing touchdowns allowed. We were also bottom 6 in 28 passing touchdowns we gave up. Guys, that's more than 1 per game. That's almost darn near 2 per game. I know my math is a little off. I did go to public schools, cut me some breaks. But the stats, not good. What is good? We brought in a lot of new faces. We brought in a lot of new faces for this defense. Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader, Amik Robertson. Those are guys that we either picked up in free agency or traded for. And Carlton Davis. I'm sorry, I forgot to have him on my list. So we got 4 guys right there. Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader, Amik Robertson, Carlton Davis. Those are 4 day 1 starters we plug in. Day 1. That immediately is going to make our defense better. How much better? Question for you at the end. I'll let you guys answer it. 4 guys in Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader, Amik Robertson, Carlton Davis. Day 1, Sunday Night Football, LA Rams come to town. You will see those 4 guys coming out of the tunnel being introduced as starters. It's just the way it is. That tells you how bad our defense was last year when we literally go out and just sign 4 guys that we're going to throw into our starting rotation on absolute day 1. Only one maybe who has a question is let's see what happens with Amik Robertson. I want to see what happens with him and Terrion Arnold in training camp. Those are 2 guys that I'm going to talk about. 2 other new faces, Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. Drafted, not signed, so I kind of threw them in a different category. Terrion Arnold in minicamp, in mandatory OTAs, all that stuff. He was the starting corner on defense at cornerback 2, kind of like I talked about where we were throwing Jerry Jacobs, hoping he would stick, Kendall Vildor. That spot's locked up and it's secure now. So on our outside cornerbacks, we're looking at Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold. Hey, you guys are the 2 corners starting. The other 2 guys, and Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw. I saw Ennis playing some nickel in minicamp. I think that's what Brian Branch is going to be playing more safety. So that kind of opens up that nickel spot for Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw. So I'm looking to see those 2 guys battle. And then our safeties, we're set at safeties. We have a lot of people are questioning our depth. We have 3 safeties who could do a lot of different things. Brian Branch could play literally anywhere on a football field. If we needed him to play outside corner for a game or 2, I think he could do it. If we need him to slide back into nickel, proof's in the pudding there. He did it all last season. He did it very well. He was the best nickel cornerback in the league. Let's get him into that safety spot where I think he's going to be more comfortable, more effective, doesn't have to come off the field when the offense is trotting out other packages that we don't match up well against with Brian Branch on the field. We're going to be good. Our safeties are set. Ife Melifonwu, like I said, came on late last year, was a pass rush machine, had one of the key plays of Detroit Lions history with the interception against Minnesota, sealing our first division championship in 30 years Ife Melifonwu will always be remembered as a Detroit Lion. I want to see him keep growing. And then Kirby Joseph. I know he gets a lot of hate on some of these ranking sites like PFF, and they leave him off there. Not even a top 32 safety. Are you absolutely nuts? You're going to look at me and tell me that Aaron Rodgers' father is not a top 32 safety in this league? That guy is a ball hawk. He is one of the most underrated center field type safeties in the league. If you don't know what that means, it's where he could just kind of sit back in center field, watch the coverage develop in front of him, read the quarterback's eyes, read the plays, read the route combinations and trees that they can run in certain situations. And he is one of the most underrated. Now, he's not a safety that's going to come up in the box and blitz a whole lot or stuff a running back. Not his style. We have two other guys who could do that. It's perfectly fine. I know some people are saying we need to go out and sign Justin Simmons, the old Broncos safety. I'm all for it if we do, but if not, I'm not going to lose any sleep. We're set on defense, guys. And then let's talk about, if we have playmakers at all three levels on this defense, we're going to be okay. And I really think we do. I just mentioned Brian Branch, Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, I think is going to be in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Will he win it? I don't know. Let's let the season play out. We have playmakers in our secondary. We have playmakers at our linebacker spot. I think Jet Campbell's going to have a huge, monstrous year. I think Alex Anzalone had one of the best years he ever had as a pro last year. Let's see if he can keep that going. He maybe regresses a little bit, but that's okay if our defense as a whole is playing all right. Derek Barnes, everything that I'm seeing out of training camp the last 2 years has been that Derek Barnes is taking steps forward. Let's see if he keeps developing into something. Playmakers at every level. That defensive line, we got 97 over there on that edge, Aiden Hutchinson. You know what he's going to do. Throw in a DJ Reader and a Lee McNeil with a dominant tackle next to him and DJ Reader, problems. Question mark is on that other side of that defensive end spot. Marcus Davenport was a former first-round pick. There's talent there. If he can stay healthy and produce like he did a few years ago with the New Orleans Saints, where he got 9 sacks, I'm not looking for him to come in and break sack records or anything like that. I'm looking at him to just be a pass rusher in certain situations. We also have Kaminsky and Pascal and Matthew Betts. A lot of people are high on, like, guys, there's options at that other defensive end spot. So here's my question. I've given you guys all kinds of stats. I've talked about the new faces, the scheme, what we can do, what we were good at, what we weren't good at. Here's the question. Answer this in the comments. Is this defense good enough to be top 10 in the NFL and propel us to an NFC championship game again and get us to a Super Bowl and get that win? Hit that like button. Leave it in the comments. Stick around. Subscribe. I'll be back later with another show.